Your feed is full of them. People celebrating their wins, documenting their dinners, broadcasting their opinions, performing their lives for an audience that's half watching while scrolling to the next thing. And then there's you, scrolling, observing, reading, understanding, but never posting, never commenting, never adding your voice to the noise. And people notice. They ask why you're so quiet, why you don't share, why you're always watching but never participating, as if silence is suspicious, as if observation is avoidance, as if choosing privacy means you're hiding something. But what if it means the opposite? What if the people who never post aren't missing out on life? What if they're the ones who understand something the rest of us are still learning? Today, we're exploring the psychology of social media's silent observers, the lurkers, the wallflowers, the ones who consume but never create. And what we discover might change how you see silence forever. Let's start with a number. Research shows that roughly 90% of people in any online community consume content but never create. 9% add occasional reactions, and only 1% do the heavy posting. Jacob Nielsen's September 1st, 90 rule. Nearly 100 years of internet culture, and this pattern holds. Most people watch. Few people speak. But why? What drives someone to scroll for hours, absorbing everyone else's life, without ever adding their own? Is it shyness? Fear? Apathy? Or is it something deeper? Something that reveals not weakness, but wisdom? Let me tell you what psychology has discovered. The first thing researchers noticed: these silent observers aren't passive at all. They're incredibly active, just differently. While others are busy performing, these people are studying, watching, analyzing, understanding patterns most people miss. A University of Central Florida study found that introverts turn to social platforms mainly for information seeking, not broadcasting. They're gathering data, cross-checking, forming conclusions, like modern-day anthropologists studying society from the shadows. They noticed the tension in a couple's body language, the quiet unfollow, the friend who stopped commenting, the subtext beneath the caption, details that performers miss because they're too busy crafting their next post. Psychology calls this high private self-consciousness, a trait linked to people who spend more time in internal dialogue than external performance. And here's what matters. People with strong observational tendencies tend to form more accurate judgments about others. They're not hiding. They're just selective. They understand something fundamental. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every moment needs documentation. Not every opinion requires broadcasting. Silence, in their world, is not absence. It's presence of a different kind. Now let's talk about what silence protects. Research from the journal Computers in Human Behavior found that social media lurkers experience less stress, less envy, and more control over their emotional state than heavy posters. Read that again. Less stress, less envy, more control, because they've opted out of a game most people don't even realize they're playing. The game of constant comparison, the game of curated perfection, the game where your worth is measured in likes and your identity becomes content. Silent observers see this clearly. They watch others chase validation through screens, watch friendships reduced to comment threads, watch authenticity sacrificed for engagement. And they choose differently. They choose privacy, not because they're secretive, but because they value emotional boundaries. According to self-determination theory, people thrive when they feel in control of their choices, free from external pressures. For someone who avoids posting, social media can feel like a performance stage where validation depends on strangers' approval. So they refuse the stage, not out of fear, but out of autonomy. They understand that their personal life isn't content. It's sacred, and there's power in that. Quiet power that our culture often misses. Let me show you something interesting. Studies show that heavy social media use is associated with reduced presence and attentional control. Notifications hijack focus. Likes trigger dopamine cycles. Endless scrolling fragments attention. But people who stay silent, they experience the opposite. By not thinking about how to frame their dinner for Instagram, they're free to actually taste it. By not worrying whether their photo will perform well, they're present in the moment it captures. Mindfulness research suggests this presence boosts well-being, reduces stress, strengthens relationships. Think about that. By choosing not to document life, they're actually living it more fully. While others are performing for an audience, they're experiencing reality without the filter. This is what society gets backwards. We assume people who don't post are missing out, that they're disconnected, isolated, living smaller lives. But research suggests many social media lurkers actually prefer real, face-to-face interactions. They're not avoiding connection. They're choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth. They'd rather have one honest conversation than 100 shallow exchanges. Rather text someone privately than broadcast publicly. Rather be fully present with one person than partially present with thousands. And here's what's fascinating. Studies show that people who post less often tend to value emotional privacy and have stronger internal boundaries. They don't feel the need for constant external validation because they draw self-esteem from within. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from personal values, achievements, close relationships, not from others' approval. This doesn't make them better than people who share online, but it does make them less vulnerable to the dopamine-driven cycle of approval and rejection that fuels much of social media behavior. They're not dependent on likes to feel worthy, comments to feel valued, shares to feel significant. They already know their worth, and it's not measured in metrics. Now let's be honest about something. Not all silence comes from strength. Sometimes it stems from fear. Research shows people with social anxiety often avoid posting out of fear of judgment, rejection, or simply saying the wrong thing. It's safer to watch than risk being misinterpreted. Safer to stay invisible than potentially be criticized. And this is important to understand. There's a difference between choosing silence and hiding in it. Choosing silence from a place of confidence, that's wisdom. That's boundary setting. That's self-possession. Hiding in silence from a place of fear, that's something else. That's isolation masquerading as preference. The question you must ask yourself, am I silent because it serves me? Or because I'm afraid? Am I protecting my peace? Or avoiding discomfort? Am I choosing privacy? Or running from visibility? Brutal honesty. That's what's required. Because there's also loneliness in perpetual observation. A particular kind of disconnection that comes from always watching life through a screen, never participating. Research shows that passive social media use, scrolling without engaging, can actually increase feelings of loneliness and inadequacy. You see everyone else's highlight reels, their celebrations, their connections, their seemingly perfect lives, and you're just watching, always watching, never part of it. This creates what psychologists call social comparison fatigue. Even if you don't consciously compare, repeated exposure to others' curated lives can trigger self-doubt. So some people stay silent not from strength, but from withdrawal. Not from choice, but from learned helplessness. And that silence? That needs compassion. Maybe therapy. Definitely community. The real kind, not the digital kind. Here's what's true. We need balance. Total silence can become isolation, but constant broadcasting can become performance anxiety. The key is intentionality, knowing why you're choosing what you're choosing. If you're silent on social media because it allows you to be more present in real life, beautiful. Keep that. If you're silent because you're comparing yourself to others and convinced you have nothing worth sharing, that's different. That needs addressing. The goal isn't to post or not post. The goal is to understand your relationship with visibility, with validation, with the need to be seen. Let me tell you about introspection. One of the most consistent traits among people who keep a low digital profile is deep self-reflection. They spend time thinking about their choices, their growth, the meaning behind their actions. Posting frequently can interrupt introspection because attention goes outward, toward presentation, perception, performance. Silent people redirect that attention inward. In psychology, this aligns with high self-boundary clarity. The ability to know where your emotional limits are and protect them before burnout arrives. They're not withdrawing. They're preserving their energy for what matters. And what matters, for many of them, isn't digital applause. It's personal evolution, real connection, authentic experience. They journal instead of posting. They have long conversations instead of quick comments. They process internally instead of externally. And in a world that constantly demands external expression, this internal focus is rare, precious, often misunderstood. But it's not wrong. It's just different. Here's something society doesn't want you to know. Visibility is not the same as value. In digital culture, we've conflated the two. We believe if you're not posting, you're not living. If you're not sharing, you're not experiencing. If you're not visible, you don't matter. But that's a lie. A profitable lie that keeps people addicted to platforms, chasing metrics, performing their lives instead of living them. The truth is simpler and quieter. You don't have to be seen to be whole. You don't have to broadcast to be interesting. You don't have to document to be living fully. Some of the richest lives happen in complete privacy. Some of the deepest connections exist entirely offline. Some of the most interesting people never post a single thing because they're too busy being. Instead of performing being, they're traveling without the pressure to capture the perfect shot. They're eating without thinking about how it looks. They're connecting without needing to announce it. And there's freedom in that. A freedom most people have forgotten exists. Let's talk about what silent observers understand that others are still learning. They understand that attention is not intimacy, that you can have thousands of followers and still feel profoundly alone. They understand that social media is often performance, not connection. That the relationships that matter can't be maintained through likes and comments. They understand that privacy is not secrecy, that choosing what to share is not the same as hiding. And they understand something crucial. Real life happens beyond the screen. The best memories, the ones that actually shape you, are often the ones you don't post. The vulnerable moments, the private joys, the quiet revelations. Those experiences lose something when translated into content, when filtered through the lens of how they'll be received. Silent observers protect those moments. They let them exist as they are, unpackaged, unperformed, unseen by anyone except those who were actually there. And in protecting those moments, they protect themselves, their authenticity, their freedom to experience without constantly thinking about how to present. Now here's what's ironic. In choosing to stay silent, these people often develop traits that our world desperately needs more of. Empathy, because they spend time observing and understanding others instead of broadcasting themselves. Mindfulness, because they're present in moments instead of documenting them. Authenticity, because they're not constantly performing for an audience. Self-awareness, because they reflect internally instead of seeking external validation. Boundaries, because they know what's private and what's public, and they guard that line carefully. These aren't small things. These are the foundations of emotional intelligence, of mental health, of genuine connection. And yet, our culture calls them antisocial, boring, missing out, when really, they might be the sanest people in the room. Here's my question for you. What would change if you posted less? Or stopped posting entirely? Would you feel free? Or would you feel invisible? Would you be more present? Or more isolated? Would you discover who you are without an audience? Or would you panic at the silence? Your answer reveals everything about your relationship with visibility. If the thought of not posting fills you with anxiety, that's worth examining. That might mean you've become dependent on external validation to feel worthy. If the thought of not posting fills you with relief, that might mean you've been performing when you'd rather be experiencing. Either way, the question is worth asking. Because in a world that equates visibility with value, choosing invisibility is radical. And sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is simply live your life without announcing it. To exist without documentation. To connect without broadcasting. To be interesting without needing to prove it. The silent observers understand this. They've opted out of the performance. Not because they're afraid of the stage, but because they've discovered something better, a life that's fully theirs, unfiltered, unperformed, unseen by strangers, but deeply experienced by themselves. And maybe that's not hiding. Maybe that's the most authentic way to live. So here's what I want to leave you with. If you're someone who never posts, who watches quietly from the sidelines, who chooses privacy over performance, you're not broken. You're not missing out. You're not doing it wrong. You're simply living by different rules. Rules that prioritize presence over presentation, substance over show, being over performing. And in a world obsessed with visibility, your quiet existence is a reminder that there are other ways to be human. Ways that don't require constant documentation, constant sharing, constant performance. Ways that value the internal over the external, the private over the public, the real over the curated. Keep your silence if it serves you. Keep your privacy if it protects you. Keep your distance from the performance if it allows you to be more present in your actual life. Because the people who truly matter, they don't need to see your posts to know your worth. They see it in how you show up in real life, in how you listen, in how you're present, in who you are when there's no audience watching. And that's worth more than all the likes in the world. So to everyone watching this who rarely posts, who scrolls silently, who observes without engaging, I see you, even though you don't want to be seen. And I want you to know, your silence speaks volumes. Your privacy is powerful. Your choice to live offline says more about your wisdom than any post ever could. Stay quiet if that's what feels right. Stay private if that's what feels safe. Stay observant if that's what brings you peace. The world needs people like you. People who remind us that life exists beyond the screen. That connection doesn't require broadcasting. That we don't have to perform to matter. So keep watching. Keep learning. Keep living privately. And know that you're not alone in your silence. There are millions of us, quietly observing, privately experiencing, authentically existing. And we're doing just fine. Now I'm curious, and I really want to know, are you a poster or a silent observer? And more importantly, why? What drives your choice to share or stay quiet? Drop your honest answer in the comments below. I genuinely want to understand your relationship with social media visibility. If this made you think differently, hit subscribe. We go deeper every day. Don't forget to like the video. It helps more people find messages like this. Personal Pulse HQ isn't just a channel. It's a mindset.